I thought I had saved this stray from being homeless. But sitting next to the shattered music box, I realized the horrifying truth. I hadn't saved him. I had violently snatched him away from his real home. I went to Isla Hanabi to hit the reset button after my life shattered. After 10 years, my relationship had ended, leaving me brokenhearted and unsure where to go next. The goal was simple: travel alone, reset, and figure out how to move forward. I was paralyzed by a profound, lonely misery, the kind that makes you stare at the ceiling for hours. So this is what heartbreak felt like. It was like being hit by a speeding vehicle. At the moment of impact, when the relationship ended, I was completely numb. But as the hours stretched into days, I started to feel the intense physical pain. They said that Hanabi was a healing island, but it wasn't. Instead, the silence was crushing, forcing me to feel every single ache, making me believe my world had truly become gray. Then, as if on cue, Kiko, the stray cat of the island, crashed into my solitude. He sauntered towards me with his sharp, blue, judging eyes, as if telling me to stop sulking. He was relentless. He wasn't aggressive. He was protective. He didn't settle on random laps. He settled on mine. And in the wreckage of my heartbreak, there was a profound, simple joy in being chosen. If I went down to the water and sat motionless, Kiko would jump onto my chest, his heavy purring vibrating through me like a healing machine. Every morning, he'd forcefully head but my hand until I got up and fed him, dragging me back from the edge of my complete despair, one tiny action at a time. For those 2 weeks, Kiko became the only thing I felt responsible for. He was the long-lost big brother who seemed determined to keep me moving forward. I didn't just love him. I believed he was the key to my recovery. As my 2 weeks ended, the thought of leaving him, the only creature who had shown me grace and demand, was unbearable. I watched him stalk the periphery of the communal area, always on duty looking for the quiet ones. I saw his exhaustion. Before I even considered the plane, I spent 3 days asking every staff member, every vendor, and every long-term tourist about Kiko. They all confirmed the same thing: he wasn't owned. He was a creature of the island, a stray who lived entirely off scattered scraps and the kindness of visitors. They warned me he was wild and wouldn't leave, but that only solidified my determination. I saw a noble, exhausted stray who was using up his 9 lives guarding strangers. I believed he was protecting me from the island's slow pace, and now I had to protect him from the harsh life of a stray. The true truth was, saving him became my new sense of purpose. It meant I was still capable of saving something. I rushed the paperwork. I paid the fees. When I finally carried him onto the plane, I felt whole, convinced I was giving him a comfortable life, and in turn, securing my own permanent purpose. He tolerated the journey, but he was tense like a first responder being removed from a disaster zone. And the quiet, comfortable home I thought would be his paradise quickly became his nightmare. My apartment, which I had designed to be a sanctuary, became his war zone. He wouldn't look at the cat tree or the expensive food. He became frantic, pacing and wailing, and every time I tried to comfort him, he would bat my hand away. It wasn't simple aggression, it was desperate communication. I told myself he was just namama high, homesick and adjusting. Every Filipino knows that feeling of being tense in a new place. I figured if I was just patient, he'd settle in. But that wasn't settling. He would stand at the window, ignoring the birds, staring only at the road, howling as if searching for someone he was supposed to be comforting. I thought he was missing me. Didn't realize he was missing them. He grew more frantic every hour. The climax came with the music box. That music box wasn't just a possession. It was the last delicate thing I owned from my grandmother, a relic of a beautiful life I no longer felt worthy of. When I found the clockwork guts spilled across the carpet, I didn't see ruin, I saw pure, desperate violation. He had specifically targeted the one object that represented my past comfort and my ability to hide. The silence I cherished was now broken by the sharp snap of gears. And in that destruction, I realized he was demanding that I feel something, anything besides numb despair. It was his final violent attempt to communicate before giving up on me. I looked at the scattered pieces of the music box, the shattered remnants of my sanctuary, and all I could think brokenly was, what did I do wrong? Am I that unlovable that even cats don't want to be with me? I was shattered. I posted a picture of him looking distraught, asking for help, detailing his destruction. The replies started immediately, flooding my inbox. They weren't from people who loved me. They were from people who depended on him. Is that Kiko? I was there last year, and he saved my life just by sitting on me while I had a panic attack. He knows exactly who needs him the most. He's the protector of the quiet ones. He's famous for it. I scrolled through hundreds of photos. Kiko sitting watch next to a lonely man on a hammock. Kiko aggressively squeezing himself onto a teenager's lap during a bad phone call. I realized my mistake. Kiko's deep emotional investment wasn't in one person. It was in the entire hurting community. His purpose was to be the constant, protective, non-judgmental presence for hundreds of fleeting, broken visitors, quietly demanding their attention and giving them permission to slow down. He had an actual job on that island. The journey back was heavy with the weight of my mistake. I had kidnapped a beloved public servant out of vanity. When we landed, I took him straight to the communal mourning area. Kiko bolted, not looking back. He ran straight to an elderly man sitting alone, staring at the sea. He jumped up and settled heavily on the man's lap. The man didn't look down in surprise, but up at the sky, smiling, the quiet acknowledgement of a guardian returning to his post. Kiko was home, and he was immediately back at work. I sat and watched him for 10 minutes. He didn't come to me. He was too busy. I finally stood up, gave him one last nod of respect, and left. I drove back to the city having learned the most important lesson about love. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is accept that someone else's burden is their purpose, and that purpose is more vital than your comfort. Kiko didn't need rescuing. He was the rescuer. He taught me that true belonging is not about having a comfortable house, but about finding the community that needs your particular kind of aggressive empathy. And all those videos of Kiko running after the departing vans? Every tourist thought he was begging to stay with them, heartbroken by their absence. But he wasn't chasing them out of grief. He was running to send them off, one final time, bidding them good luck as they turned back to face the real world. And by letting him go, I had finally found my own true purpose: to share his story.